What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are back with another all-22 look, man. And today, we're diving into this Lions-Packers game. Now, we did our takeaways video a day after the game, and we showed some clips in that video. So today, I just planned on doing one all-22. We're going to put both the offense and defense in this video. I tried not to use the same plays that we looked at in the takeaways video in this all-22. I tried to take a look at some different plays here. However, there's a few of the same ones that I am going to showcase in here just to give you a different way to see it. Maybe because you can see the entire field now using the all-22 version. But in today's video, we're definitely going to show more rushing clips than I think we maybe have ever shown in an all-22 video, and just to show up some of the versatility there. That's not to say every run was successful, because it wasn't. They have an aggressive defensive front. They like to slant on the front side, and they can make it difficult in terms of who has who. They have some creativity and some craftiness up front, which can make them a little bit difficult to deal with, and they have real explosiveness. They like to play upfield, aggressive, but through your blocks, and you can get some negative plays in there with that. But when the Lions needed to, they were able to run the football, and there was a lot of versatility in their rushing scheme as well. So I just want to showcase some different runs, some good, some bad. And then on the defensive side of the ball, another strong performance. And it's felt like the Lions have kind of had the number of the Packers defensively over the last few seasons now with Aaron Glenn. I just think that he's done a really good job coming in with a plan to stop that offense and just take them out of their rhythm a little bit, force them to get through multiple progressions, right? That first answer can't be there. We have to take that away. And even with Aaron Rodgers, I thought that was something that Aaron Glenn was doing well. And I think we saw that again in this game. Now, Green Bay came out in the second half. They had some answers to what we were throwing at them defensively, so we had to adapt, we had to adjust a little bit. So there was a little bit of a chess match going on there, but there was a lot of good once again from the defense, and we're going to showcase a lot of the good in this game as well. Also some spots where they got us, and really some of those that we talked about in the takeaways video as well. So with all that being said, there are going to be some plays that you've probably already seen, but maybe now you can see it through the all-22 version if you haven't yet, and we can talk through it once again. Now, this first play, I won't spend a ton of time here because this was one that we did talk about in the takeaways video. This was the interception. It was a 3rd and 11, so not an ideal spot to get in against this defense. It's never been a great spot to get in against this defense. Hanged up at cornerback, Rasul Douglas was their top corner. Here he is at the bottom, but they also had guys like Valentine as kind of their number 2 corner, so they were a little bit banged up there. But on this play, they're going to bring a blitz. It's something that we do as well, but they play this 5-man front like this, Quay Walker here out on the edge, and they're just going to rush all 5. Now, if he drops out and takes away the flat, then it's your normal cover 3 look, right? Because the safety buzzes down, you take away the flat, there you go. However, they're going to rush all 5 on this play, and you could see Taylor Decker kind of loses his footing here a little bit, trying to pick up sort of this stunt on the inside, and you can see that's the pressure that Jared Goff feels when he's kind of going back a little bit. But really, it was Ford who we focused on here. So the Lions are going to kind of stack up their receivers at the bottom, and Jahmyr Gibbs is going to run this out route, and you're going to see Goff's eyes initially are going to go there to take that route. And you can see Ford, he's going to stick with that underneath. Now, on paper, this should work, right? Because you have the safety coming down. He's going to take away this outside zone. There isn't zone vacated because of the rush of Quay Walker, so he's really playing 2 zones here as a safety. But there's also only 2 receivers on this side of the field, and one went vertically past him to Rasul Douglas, so he really only has one guy to worry about in Jahmyr Gibbs. No one really crosses his path. You can see down here, they're going to sit down Sam Laporta, and this is really the main thing that I think we could touch on because we see it a lot, but it is one of the staples kind of this Ben Johnson offense since he's really taken over as the offensive coordinator going back to last season. It's the amount of over routes, the dig routes, in-breaking routes. That's where a lot of the success has been for the Lions. We know they've had a lot of success attacking zone coverage, but specifically with those in-breaking routes, we see it on 3rd down a lot. It's where Goff has seemingly been his most comfortable and at his best, keeping really things I would say inside the numbers. Not necessarily the hash because the hashes are so tight in the NFL, but more so keeping it inside the numbers, in-breaking routes. That's where the Lions have found a lot of success. So, you know, concepts will change, but the idea is usually pretty similar. Like this, Sam Laporta coming down, running this little hitch route underneath, and then beyond that, you kind of get it like a dagger look here from St. Brown and the slot running vertical. So we've seen this kind of setup a lot. So you're going to take Rasul Douglas kind of out of the play. So the ball is intended to go over here to this overbreaking route, really behind the linebackers in a cover 3 look, which was something I think we kind of anticipated we were going to try to do coming into this game. We had done it the week before against the Atlanta Falcons, and this is a team that likes to play off coverage, whether that's man or a lot of times zone, and they're aggressive, right? They will dive on routes. So we'll take a look at how the Lions took advantage of that on their touchdown. But in this case, a little bit of pressure is given up here. Now you can see the idea though, right? I'm going to go here. Okay, look, that's where he goes first. Ford's going to take away Jahmyr Gibbs is kind of the thinking here, right? He's going to do this outbreaking route. Ford's going to take that. They're losing an underneath defender, and then I can come back here. Now I can try to get this linebacker to go down on Sam Laporta, like drive on Sam Laporta, and then also if I can hold this backside nickel Nixon on the play, now I can come back and hit this dig route in kind of that zone hole. But shout out to Ford. He didn't bite on that, right? He saw it, but he saw Goff look away. Only thing maybe is that Goff could have just stuck with Jahmyr Gibbs a little bit longer here and tried to really pull down Ford on this play, but also knowing the sticks, right? The sticks, we needed 11 yards on this play. So for Ford to not get aggressive on that outbreaking route. Now, yes, you could look at this and say, well, hey, he's open, just throw that route, which, yes, he is open, but he's open because Goff is looking the other direction, and that's why he kind of floats away from that coverage, and that's ultimately where the interception comes into play. It makes sense on paper, like it's like, hey, the setup's good, all right, you got the open zone, right, you kind of cleared it out. And you also see this off-ball linebacker to the strong side. He gets really good depth initially. So Goff does maybe have to wait just a tick later before he can go behind that and hit St. Brown. But really, it all kind of ties together because he runs that chip and then he curls out as a tight end. So it's really supposed to time up, I believe, with that break from St. Brown at the top of his route. That way, when he throws that pass, that linebacker naturally is going to drive down into his zone. And he can also kind of be looking at the same area. But with that being said, again, it's really the backside here with Ford being able to float out of his zone, looking the other way, then backpedaling, kind of knowing like, hey, Goff is not going to this side of the field. But Ford got out of his zone, dropped back, and came up with the interception, just jumping into that zone hole that we were trying to set up. That's really the main thing I would say here is just the eye discipline, because again, Goff's moving it early, then he comes back here underneath, then comes back to the dig route, but maybe just if he could have held Ford a little bit longer on this play, you're waiting for it to kind of clear out for Amon-Ra St. Brown to open up this path, but here, good play by the defensive back, gets the interception. I will say a little bit later in the game, I don't think the clip is in here, but another third and long situation, Lions try to again run a dagger behind it and run a drag underneath a little bit later in the game, and you can see the depth from kind of the underneath coverage, and instead of trying to push that, Goff kind of made that decision, okay, I'm going to check this down, we're going to throw the drag, we'll see if we can get something after the catch here, but not really standing in and trying to force into that window to pick up the big chunk. Now, the offense bounced back, as we know, but this was probably the most impressive thing, to throw that interception, your third play, you throw an interception against, I think, a really strong secondary, even with missing pieces, they're just tough in the back end, but defensively, to go out there and get an immediate 3-and-out, force a field goal was massive, and we had a couple of crucial 3-and-outs like that in this game. One in the second half where our offense 1-2-3 punt, and we were able to get a 1-2-3 punt back the other way, and I thought that was crucial just by how the game was kind of flowing. But here, this is also a massive stop. Now, the Lions came out and they went man coverage early, and I think one of the strategies for Aaron Glenn simply playing Green Bay consistently has been, we have to get them beyond the first progression, right? That first read can't be there. We have to get him to 2, we have to get him to 3, right? We have to continue to make him work through different reads. And if we can do that, then we can trust our defensive line to win. And one thing that I think needs to get a lot of credit in this game is the defensive line in terms of their pass rush lanes. They were excellent in their pass rush lanes today. And we did a lot of these TE stunts, like this on the bottom here with Lee McNeil. He's going to crash into this inside shoulder of the tackle, and then you're going to wrap and loop around Aiden Hutchinson towards the inside. Now you're going to get that pressure as Aiden Hutchinson loops around on the guard. We did a lot of those types of stunts, and Lee McNeil actually had a sack on one of those stunts, but it was really the ability to keep him within the pocket. When it looked like the middle was opening up, all of a sudden you crash, you loop back inside, now that's taken away, and then also playing through the tackles, collapsing that pocket on Jordan Love. Lions were really good. He didn't run a lot in this game. He didn't have a lot of success taking off on us. The one that he did was a design draw, and we just really lightened the boxes we'll take a look at. But I do have to give credit to what the Lions were able to do with that defensive line in terms of just discipline in pass rush lanes. I thought that was a huge part. Now, obviously, they got some pressure within that too, which is great. But here, this thing is Lions are going man coverage across the board. You're going to have inside help with Alex Anzalone. He's going to be that zone hole defender. And then you're also going to have the cover 1 safety, Tracy Walker, on this play. But a couple things I think to point out here. First off, Jerry Jacobs on the short side of the field. One little tendency that I kind of noticed is a lot of the passes, a lot of the first progression is, man, let's go to the short side of the field, right? A lot of things start there for Jordan Love watching it back. And I think that was also part of it, like this. Getting Jerry Jacobs up, allowing him to press. Now, this one's a little bit different because he's working on Aaron Jones, but I think Jerry Jacobs, you saw it in this game, he was asked to press a lot more, and you could see how much more comfortable he was in that role. It's something that he had done over the last few seasons. This year, we've kind of changed things up a little bit. You can see Cam Sutton here. He's to the field side. He's going to go half turn, but he's still manned up. he's just playing half turn, just plays it technically a little bit different. So you can tell that there's different techniques in terms of how these guys like to play. But I thought it was a really good, it matched up really well for Jerry Jacobs in this game because he was able to play on the short side of the field a lot. And for that, they asked him to get physical. They asked him to really match up on the short side or press up and take away that first read. A lot of times that was Romeo Doubs who he was matched up on. In this case, it wasn't. But you're going to see him press here. You're going to see Iffy in the slot, which just speaks to kind of the trust and the versatility. He's working on a receiver in a slot. Now, he has inside help. You're seeing him sit outside leverage in this slot here. But still, you know, if he was a corner, he was a cornerback in college. Here he is matched up in man coverage on Romeo Doubs with inside help. Derek Barnes is going to be matched up on Luke Musgrave. So you're really matching personnel for personnel here. Lions didn't put their linebacker out wide to match up with the running back in this empty look. Instead, they kept their linebackers inside, which I think gives you some flexibility to kind of drop out, give some zone looks out of that. But they're really, they kept them sort of in the box in this one. They didn't put him out wide on Aaron Jones. Plus, as we know, that can be a matchup problem. I mean, you put a cornerback on Jones, you feel good about that. You put a linebacker on him, I'm sure that's where the ball's going to go. So in this case, you're talking about a tight end on Derek Barnes. Now, I'm not saying this is the best coverage by any means. It obviously has safety up over top, but it's pretty good. And then also Brian Branch is doing his thing here in the slot. I mean, man, Branch is just so smooth. Branch's ability to read the top of a route when the route break is coming and play with so much patience and fluidity is what stands out when you watch him. You see it right here at the top of the route. He's just giving up zero airspace on that route. I mean, it's just beautiful covered. The ball doesn't go that way, but it's beautiful from Brian Branch. And the Lions manned up really well here. Aiden Hutchinson gets the pressure and the sack. And then also, this was not exactly the play that I showed in the takeaways video. I think we'll show that play. It's a little bit different here, but it's kind of the same idea. Now, one thing that you do need to point out is the personnel that the offense is in. Offense is in 12 personnel, meaning they have 2 tight ends, they have a back. Going to a pistol look on this play, but they have 2 tight ends on the field, 2 receivers as well. And with that, the Lions are going to roll into a Tampa 2 look. Now, Brian Branch is going to be your acting safety here. Lions are only putting 1 safety on the field. We've talked about this, how this is giving them flexibility because Branch can play that safety role where they can essentially have 1 less safety on the field and just allow Branch to stay out there and never come off the field because he can play both as like your typical safety and as your, nickel slot cornerback when you put the other safety in the game. So a team like this, when the Lions want to go heavy on the front, 5 guys across the front to stop the run, stop the pistol look, they can just allow Brian Branch to drop out and play a safety role. So it gives them a lot of flexibility. But the big thing, again, to me, here again on the short side of the field here, Jerry Jacobs matched up one-on-one. Works well with Romeo Doubs here off the release as he's working outside, right? Kind of sticks in the hip, and he's able to push vertical with it because there is really no underneath threat that makes itself present here with the tight end. He kind of comes out late on the play. Alex Anzalone's also down there underneath. Derek Barnes does a nice job here. Obviously, he's the Tampa 2 linebacker, so he needs to open, turn a run, take away this over route. The Lions were aggressive with their safeties, but this has been a coverage. It's kind of been a staple against Green Bay is the Tampa 2 defense. And when you can do it out of a heavy personnel like this, I think it just adds so much to your flexibility. Because one, you're giving a different pre-snap look. You have a safety in the box, right? You can almost think it's man coverage. And then to be able to drop out and go Tampa 2 defensively, so much flexibility. But Derek Barnes does a nice job, and what I really like about Brian Branch, he just doesn't give up airspace. That is the big thing that stands out to me. Like how he plays slot, plays the same way at safety. Look at him here open up. He's just not giving up a ton of space. A lot of safeties will kind of just give a ton of ground there. He doesn't give up a ton of ground on this play, and I like that because there's no other threat on his side of the field. So the recognition there is great. Obviously, Isaiah Buggs did his thing, beating Myers on this play, the center, pretty instantly, coming up with a sack. He's had his good days against the Green Bay Packers. We saw that going back to last season. This is just an outside zone run here. You're going to see they're going to go at the 2-eye on this play. They're going to run towards Brock Wright, and obviously Graham Glasgow does a nice job here against a 2-eye from Kenny Clark, who's going to try to jump outside, kind of get through that B gap, but Graham Glasgow does a really nice job here of sealing this one up. This is where I thought he had a lot of success with sealing blocks, using some of his quickness, and just like this, sealing up that run lane. Also, I got to give credit to the receivers. I'll be doing this throughout today's video, but the receivers stepping in and blocking defensive backs was key. St. Brown, we kind of expect that. That's usually what he does. But also a guy like Josh Reynolds, man, he stuck out so many times, just stepping in there, laying a really good block. I have some good examples. Penei Sewell does a really nice job on this play. You're going to see he's going to get in on Preston Smith, who's trying to, again, set the edge on this play. And then he's also going to work himself up to the second level, hit the defensive back. We saw some of this. We saw some weak side zone running in this game. Lions would kind of get those defensive backs into the mix, but that was just a really good example of a good blocking up front. Jahmyr Gibbs, obviously, he's able to run and make some things happen after contact. This is something that we kind of saw a lot in this game. So this is a 3rd and 1 situation. Whenever we got to these spots, this is what they would do defensively. They would also kind of do this like in a goal line situation as well, short yardage situations. You can see they're going to put 4 defensive linemen between the offensive tackles. You're going to see they're going to go 2-eye here. They're going to go with a 4 technique right over the head of Penei Sewell on this play, the 1 technique on the backside here, as well as a 3 technique here for Jonah Jackson. So they're going to stack in between those tackles. But as you're going to see here from number 96, who's lined up, head up with Penei Sewell on this play, you're going to see him jump outside, and then he's going to go into contact with the tight end. And these are like the little things that this defensive line would do, which would make it a little bit difficult. Sometimes I think for this case, he's going to go right at the tight end on this play for just having the recognition of like, okay, where is it coming from? You'd get some missed blocks because they just were not really ready for it to happen. You also had some stumbling offensive linemen because they would be expecting like, okay, I'm going to go get my contact here. And then all of a sudden they'd shoot out and just move off the play. Now Penei Sewell keeps his balance on this play, but to go in almost into a 4-eye alignment here, right? Almost inside shoulder here of Penei Sewell, and then jump outside, so you're almost showing like you're going into that B gap, and then the jump outside, Penei Sewell's expecting to kind of crash down and try to move him upfield so they can get that 1 yard, and then for him to jump outside, get in the Brock Wright, now he's expecting that he's going to be able to win that battle, which I would say he kind of did, but we only needed a yard on this play. Then obviously Sewell just needs to get up to the 2nd level, and then you just have to have Brock Wright really just hold on, because of course if this thing gets beyond the 1st level, Penei Sewell up to the 2nd level, as an offense you love that, but for them it's some of the movement that they do on their defensive line like this, short yardage situations. They could potentially get some tackle for loss spots because they're going to get aggressive and they'll slant and they'll jump into different into different gaps, and then you can get different matchups that they like a little bit better. But here they only needed a yard, and Brock Wright did enough on that play for them to get the yard. This is a play I showed in our takeaways video, so I won't spend too much time here, but I absolutely loved it, and it's just cool to see it from the all 22 angle as well, even though we kind of already did. You're going to see the motion across there from Amon-Ra St. Brown on this play. They get man coverage on this play. You kind of get a little tell there. That's what this is going to be. So they get man coverage. You're going to see he's going to read the safety rolling down. The robber is going to come down on this play. He's able to just stick with the safety's eyes. You're going to see it here, 26. Watch him on this play. He reads the safety drop down. Now he understands his man coverage with the motion presence. He can see it right now that it's man coverage. And he's able to just stare down that safety, hold this safety. And the way that you know it's happening, look where the safety is dropping to, right? The safety's not rolling in front of this coverage on Sam Laporta. He's instead backing up. And that's Jared Goff's eyes holding that safety and then coming back to Sam Laporta. And really, just to give credit to Sam there, really the concentration on that catch in traffic. Because it was contested. It was highly contested. It was a really good ball too, but a really nice concentration grab there from Sam Laporta. Touchdown play was pretty beautiful from the Lions, and what I thought of when I was watching this is just when we talk about what the Green Bay Packers are and why they're so tough defensively, and the defensive backs, they're aggressive. They'll sit in off coverage, they'll sit in zone like this, they'll jump and they'll dive on underneath routes, and it almost gives you a sense that from last year, seeing the cornerbacks play like this, the Lions like really wanted to run this play. Like, man, we're going to get this look and we're going to hit him with this slick little double move, and that's exactly what they do here with Amon-Ra St. Brown. Now you're going to see they're going to go into what almost looks like quarters coverage on this play with your 3 underneath defenders, your 4 deep on this play, just a little bit of different depths. And on this play, you're also going to see they're going to give you kind of a 2x3 look on this play. You can see you have the 2 options over here in the slot, and then you have really 3 over here with the tight end there from Brock Wright, who's going to open up on this flat because of your, underneath defender is pushed vertical by the tight end. Obviously, you have your outside corner that's pushed vertical by Jahmyr Gibbs. Then you have your safety that's on the hash. So the flat is going to be wide open on this play. It almost like he was breaking back inside. So, okay, good thing we didn't necessarily go there, but the setup was really on this side of the field. It was Amon-Ra St. Brown and with the flat route here from David Montgomery, and it's just beautiful. We're going to give 2 different looks at this one, but it almost sets up like a pick play, right? So when they go into this, and this is your 1 underneath defender on the play, it almost sets like a pick play here, like that's what he's selling here, right? We're going to look to the flat. Jared Goff sells that. We're going to look to the flat. Walker's going to fight his way through that because Goff's going to look that direction, and we're going to kind of sit him down, almost make it feel like a pick play. But then as he does that, the natural second read to it is to come back and hit Amon-Ra St. Brown. And to me, that took advantage of the aggressiveness here from the cornerback on this play, diving down on that second read. 1, 2, it's like, okay, he's not going to 1, now he's going to come back to 2, and we're going to take advantage of that with the little pump fake, and then we'll get right over top. And then, of course, your safety on this side, he's sitting on the hash mark, right? He's not getting over top. He's sitting a little bit more on the hash mark. So, again, looking to the flat first, and then he's going to come back kind of with that second progression like on top of that. Like, oh, he's going to set the pick. Okay, we don't want to go there. We're going to come back. We're going to hit this curl route. And you could see the little fake there. That's where the cornerback bites. And then it was just easy over top. And good pass protection once again. The Lions coming out throwing. We saw that on early downs. And this was just a great example of that. They also went with kind of that sugar huddle where you just get out there and you snap it. You don't really give the defense a chance to set up. You just go out there and you just run the play. You know what kind of look you're going to get tendency-wise based on what you came out in personnel-wise and also the alignment that you came out in. You expect to get that off coverage when they're kind of bunched in here. You could see it. Everybody's really in kind of a slot alignment outside of Jahmyr Gibbs. So you're expecting to get some of that off coverage look. And then you just take advantage of some of that aggressiveness from the cornerback and you go right over top. So I think that was just a great example of taking advantage of kind of what Green Bay is known to be really good with and just going right at that. The last play that we took a look at, notice the personnel. They're going into that pistol look again, 2 tight ends on the play. And I point that out because we're going to see how the Green Bay Packers kind of took advantage of that, I think, to start the second half, kind of knowing what coverage we were going to go into defensively. Now here we're going to match up a little bit differently. You can see Brian Branch is kind of on the line of scrimmage here working in the slot, and they do have 2 safeties naturally out there, and they're going to roll into, once again, a Tampa 2 look here with Alex Anzalone. Now notice they drop out Romeo in coverage. He's dropping underneath, but that's not really a lot of help inside there. So what they do with Jerry Jacobs on this play, even though that this is zone coverage, he's not going to just let him release inside and let that go. He's going to stick with that inside slant. So a lot of times you might just let that go to your underneath defender there, and that's where they hit that immediate hole. It's through the short side of the field. That's the first progression. They want to get the ball out. You see the 2 safeties drop out. You know it's zone coverage, and you got to be thinking as a quarterback that's going to be a window that's going to be open. But for Jerry Jacobs, he's not going to just let that happen. Jerry Jacobs, who only has 1 receiver to his side, you can see there's really no other threat on his side of the field, and I think that could also just be really good recognition for him as well, understanding that there's no other threat on his side of the field, so he's not going to just let that open up inside of him. Plus, again, the only inside help he really has is Romeo Okwara, because Alex Anzalone is going to open up to the strong side, so he really doesn't have much underneath help outside of Romeo, but you can't really expect that if he's going to let that release inside, that Romeo's going to make any play on the football there. That's just going to be a window that he's going to go at. So he gives you that half turn look, then he gives you that press look, then he's going to step outside, then he's going to undercut this route. And not only are you getting the safety shifts at the snap, but here, for example, you're getting Brian Branch to rush on the play and drop out Romeo. So again, it's another little wrinkle in terms of the disguise, where if that first look is in there, where's read number 2? Oh, wait, Brian Branch is rushing and Romeo dropped out to take away this drag route. So just giving them a different look. Play really just goes back to what we just talked about on third down, some of the concepts, how they're very similar in terms of a lot of in-breaking routes are set up for Jared Goff. And I think it just makes sense to his skill set. He seemingly really likes to play that style. He's able to kind of more so utilize his eyes to kind of just hold coverage and then play through that, and it really sets up the timing well with a lot of these in-breaking routes. And I didn't even notice it when we were watching it live, but Marvin Jones Jr. was out there more often running some of those routes than I even noticed when I was watching it live. So he didn't get a completion in this game. He had the one that was incomplete, but he was out there running some of these routes. But here they run this dig route. This is a 3rd down and 3 situation, and they're going to run this dig route here with Josh Reynolds. He had 2 strong options on this play. Now they're going to bring down the safety, and he's going to buzz down. He's going to take away this route for Amon-Ra St. Brown. But also talk about the route depth here. He's getting the first down depth. So if this is not taken away, and let's say he sits on this dig route for whatever reason, and I don't know why he would do that, because I don't think you'd want to sit there and just anticipate that that's going to happen, because you wouldn't know. Main one that they went to is I think what the whole design was for, but I thought they gave him a lot of really good options here. And there's a couple little things. There's really one little thing that I wanted to point to on this play. We always see the Lions switch releases. We see that a lot here, like here with Sam Laporta and Amon-Ra St. Brown. But notice Josh Reynolds on this play. He's going to run this dig route. He's going to pick up the 3rd and 3 first down. But notice how he releases and gets inside of this cornerback, okay, of the nickelback Nixon on this play. So watch this. Watch how he gets inside of Nixon on this play. Now what that does is it creates that space, and really it forces the safety's hand, who's rolling down in this cover 3 look. He's buzzing down into that zone, but it forces him to really drive down on this route, because if Josh Reynolds goes outside, now the cornerback can kind of sit underneath with this route, take away St. Brown. But with Josh Reynolds getting inside of your flat defender on this play like he does, now that safety has to really drive down to take away this route, because if not, let's say the safety sits back, this is an open pass, and he has enough, he got enough yard depth, he got enough depth on his route. This would be a first down if Goff just came down and hit this curl route, but it forces the safety to drive down on it once Josh Reynolds releases really inside of Nixon, because now he gives him that leverage. And then on top of that, of course, your outside corner who's playing that deep third right here in route Rasul Douglas, you're going to see him release inside like this and then just run that in-breaking route, which is going to be very difficult to cover when you're playing in a cover 3 defense because he's not manned up with him specifically. He has that deep third zone, so you're usually going to give up in-breaking routes, and again, you don't really have that middle field help other than your linebackers underneath, which is why Sam Laporta takes one away, and then also, you're not even blitzing. You have 4 underneath defenders, but it's really this little setup here, this kind of 2-man setup, which is absolutely beautiful. For Goff, he was able to just read and watch Amon-Ra St. Brown on this play. As soon as the safety bites down, I can go right behind that, and it's the timing of the offense. It's hits Josh Reynolds on the dig route. Once again, though, it's kind of that concept that we've seen a lot. I want to jump in here and talk a little bit about our partnership for this season with BetUS, a leading online betting platform offering a wide range of sports betting and casino games, from the most popular sports, basketball, baseball, of course, football, that's the time right now, all the way to esports. Well known for their security, reliability, and customer service, which I had a great experience with firsthand, them reaching out to me because they didn't want me to miss out on a deal once I signed up. And it's very easy to sign up. Use that top link in the description. You deposit at least $100, you can get a 125% match. You click that link, it'll take you to a page where you click Bet Now, and in 3 pages, you can be signed up with BetUS. There's also tons of different ways to bet with BetUS. Outside of casino games, if you want to go the sportsbook route, you can go to pre-game betting, whether that's over-unders, spreads. You can utilize prop bets, which we do shorts on now every week. Some of the game props that I like for each upcoming Lions game, all the way to live betting and parlays, which are just a ton of fun, just to see what kind of crazy idea you can come up with. And there's tons of different little features in there, which I really like for example, the props builder, where you can build out a prop with a specific player. Maybe you think Khalif Raymond's going to have a big day. You can build out a player prop for that player, whether that's receptions or yards, maybe it's touchdowns. So have tons of different ongoing promotions available right now, whether you're a new customer or you're a existing customer that's just re-upping with BetUS. There's tons of different promotions that are available right now. My favorite parts of BetUS is their loyalty program. If you place wagers on BetUS, you can work your way up tiers on BetUS, earning different rewards such as bigger bonuses or welcome free play or free payouts, and utilize that top link in the description. I know a lot of you guys already bet during the NFL season, so if you want to follow along with the shorts that I make and maybe some of the bets that I like for the week, click that top link, sign up with BetUS. At very least, you don't even need to deposit money right away. You can just look around, just see what's kind of out there, just take a look at the website, but it's definitely worth doing, especially if you're already betting. Again, if you have any questions like customer service issues, they have an FAQ on their website that you can go to, or you can get into contact with them utilizing live chat, email, and phone support. So again, shout out to BetUS for supporting this channel, our partner for the NFL season, and let's get back to the video. On this play, this is a 3rd and 3 defensively here, and you're going to see Iffy, he's rolled down already into the box. Now, they give you this little short out motion on the play, and then he's going to release, and you're going to see Iffy is going to kind of stick with that because he has the flat on this play, so he's aggressively taking that away, understanding that's the 3rd and 3 situation. Notice here on Jerry Jacobs' side of the field, now in this case, it's the far side of the field, so when it was short side, I think it changed things a little bit here. Again, kind of changes, I think, where the initial read goes to, right? We have to take away the first progression right here if he takes that away. And I think, again, that was the key. A lot of the tendency seemed to be we want to go to the short side of the field. It was just something that I thought when I was kind of watching it, like the Lions had a sense of that. We have to take away the first read on the short side of the field. In this case, really, the field side is over here by Jerry, but notice they stack it up. This was a little bit of an adjustment I think they made, especially in the second half. They kind of went at it a little bit, is stacking up kind of that cover 3 look defensively, because then you could open up kind of a curl route right behind it, because Jerry Jacobs would have to drop out to give a little bit of depth. But it's really Iffy matching that short out motion. You're going to see Cam Sutton's going to get over top here, really kind of take away the seam, which is nice, you know, take away the seam on this play. But Iffy takes away the first read, and then when you come back to it, they run kind of a post and almost like a dig right underneath it, and you're going to see it's incomplete. Ali McNeil gets some pressure here right on the right guard. Another thing that I did like, and this is not exactly the best showcases this, but it made me think back to last year when we were playing Miami, and we saw all the play action that we had to see in that game, and it was so much about, are your linebackers getting depth? If your linebackers are getting depth into coverage, right, we saw that with Buffalo, if they're getting depth into coverage, you can have success against that offense, but that is really the key. And I think one thing that just kind of stuck with me when thinking about that was Jack Campbell, drafting a guy like Jack Campbell with his size, with his length, and his ability to get depth, right? Melk Rodriguez does a great job getting depth, but this guy is 6'4.5", right? This guy is all in your passing lanes, so there's that aspect as well, but it kind of feels feels like, hey man, with so many teams doing this play action, you know, kind of attacking the intermediate levels of the field, we need our guy that can kind of just get in the way of that can kind of clog passing lanes. And I think that's going to be an added value. Of course, he's been able to play that Sam backer position for us a little bit. He's not an elite pass rusher by any means, but he's going to add value there. And I think some games you'll see it more than others where he can really just impact the middle field passing lanes. But here you're going to see some of the depth that he gets over the middle of the field, and you're going to see Jordan Love's going to kind of have to anticipate over the middle of the field here with the pressure in his face from Lee McNeil doing a good job on the right guard there. Also, I think that was Romeo here. Yeah, Romeo getting inside of the left tackle Walker on this play with a nice inside move. Again, we talked about the reliability with their pass rush lanes, but nice job by Campbell to get some depth. Receivers trying to sit down in the zone hole, they get pressure, and the pass is inaccurate due to that. Here the defense is going into a cover one look, and they're going to blitz on this play. So again, I wanted to give a little shout out here to David Montgomery and his pass protection. I think that's just a huge part of his game, and you can just feel the difference when he's in there. His ability to just step in and just pick up a block like right there. And again, that one maybe didn't need to be the prettiest. The ball was going to get out pretty quick. It was a 1-2-3 step, put it up, but still the step in, pick up the block. You got to love that for Montgomery. But what really impressed me here is, again, kind of just attacking that matchup. So Rasul Douglas on Amon-Ra St. Brown on the opposite side, and you know, you could say that he kind of won off the release as well. Josh Reynolds obviously a little bit of a bigger presence there. The safety rolls down, so you have the middle field safety, but you have plenty of room to get that route. And the big thing there is that the cornerbacks are going to sit outside leverage based on the splits of the receivers. So you're going to see Valentine, he's playing outside leverage, but without a guy like Jair Alexander in the game, Lions felt like they could go at that. And obviously, Josh Reynolds had some real success. But this was the perfect example because this wasn't bad coverage. This was an excellent throw, an excellent catch, great concentration. But the big thing is getting off the release and being able to get outside of a guy that's sitting outside leverage like he does. He kind of steps on his toes right here, boom, and then he's able to get on top and outside, and then that ball has a really trajectory to go. He's giving himself depth to the sideline for Goff to put that football kind of right over the shoulder. This thing was absolutely beautiful, though. The catch is just outstanding from Josh Reynolds. And again, it's just like different pieces on different days. If you have questions at cornerback and we feel like we can just win that battle one-on-one, maybe it's Josh Reynolds day-to-day to go win one-on-one. And this was just a really, really beautiful play here. They're going to roll this safety down, almost go into kind of that cover three look once again to the strong side, the tight end side. Sam Laporta, I believe, is the blocker here that's in line on this play. Yeah, he is. So they roll down the safety to that look, which means that the free safety is going to drop out here to the middle field. You sell the sweep, which is a legitimate run opportunity for the Lions with Jahmyr Gibbs. So this sold really well because if you see this look, you can expect that this is Jahmyr Gibbs actually going to get this football. They run the reverse out of it, and this just sets up absolutely perfect. Really from the defensive back spot because the safety is going to roll over because, again, they see the sweep look. Everybody, all the defensive backs are kind of moving that way. Penei Sewell then is able to get up to the second level, and you're going to see it here. He's going to kind of pin down almost Quay Walker on this play, but as he continues to work the wrong way, he's like, forget it. I'm going up there to the third level. I'm going to get me a block. Watch St. Brown here also blocking. Again, we talk about the receivers blocking. Obviously, Jared Goff's blocking on this play. I mean, everybody's blocking here. Look at this. Okay. All right. I mean, hey, he did enough. That's what's important there. But the receivers are blocking. Sewell's out there blocking. And he hit a huge play for Khalif Raymond. Look at the little change of pace, too. Boom. That little burst. Oh, stat. Hey, Sewell thought he scored. But it was beautiful either way. Really nice setup there. I thought there was a couple of opportunities that the Lions missed. I thought there was a couple of throws that were maybe left out there, specifically when we got into the red zone. And you understand it, right? You understand maybe not forcing it into traffic. That makes sense, especially when we had to lead. So that I understand even more. But I thought there was a couple that we potentially left out there. This could have been a good example, I think, of that. First of all, again, you have this across motion on this play. Now, no one's going to go follow this. Instead, they're just going to switch assignments, which is really the key, I think, onto this play. Because when they switch assignments, what that does is you're going to see Sam Laporta as the inline tight end here. So initially, you're thinking he's got a defensive back on him. But when they motion across the receiver, all of a sudden, now the cornerback takes that. Now, all of a sudden, the matchup for Sam Laporta is Quay Walker on the play, which means that your free zone defender is going to be McDuffie. Now he's kind of that linebacker that's sitting in that zone hole, and you're going to see they're going to match up here with the safety on Montgomery and the cornerback on Marvin Jones Jr. I think the miss here was definitely going to Sam Laporta. Now, it did look like at the end, Goff kind of wanted to get back to that, and he was going to have to hold the route because, again, you have a deep safety because you're getting that cover one look. So you have the middle field safety and you have that middle field linebacker. So you're going to have to hold that. So running this backside, kind of back of the end zone dig route with Marvin Jones Jr., holding that and then wanting to come back to Laporta, it almost felt like he wanted to there, but with some of the pressure off that left side from Rashawn Gary through Taylor Decker on this play, kind of got him out of the pocket a little little bit, but I also think that maybe he wasn't necessarily looking to go there, and that could have been a missed opportunity a little bit here to hit this pass when you get him matched up with Quay Walker, releasing outside and then getting back inside. Now he kind of sits his route down almost as if to stop himself from running through and into that safety, so Goff can look that way. If he doesn't like it, if he can hold that safety, now you can come back and hit that and he'll sit down in the end zone. So I think the design was there. Maybe it was just because of the pressure, but it felt like a little bit of a missed opportunity, but it could have been more so because of the pressure on that play. And then here, I just thought this was a really cool design. I think there could have been a little bit more aggressiveness potentially here. I'm not mad at it because I think even where the ball went, still could have played into the design of the play. But one thing that we've seen 3rd and long, they'll go into Tampa 2 defensively. And we had some problems with that. It's really difficult to get shots over top, especially when you're limited with space here. So that's what they do. But look at the design here. I think this is just a really crafty design because we knew to expect this from Green Bay in this game. And it's always usually about, hey, getting this linebacker vertical and then coming back underneath it. But that's much tougher when you're in the red zone. You have a much less space to work with. So this design I thought was just super crafty. Lions use St. Brown on this corner route, and then right underneath it, they use Josh Reynolds. And really what St. Brown does, because he's sprinting through this corner route, he's going to take to the strong side of the field where the linebacker's opening up. He's going to take him out of the play. So you take out that middle field zone defender. Now it's kind of like your typical cover 2 look, right? It's split open. And they're going to utilize Josh Reynolds to kind of spot and then kind of launch into the end zone. Now I think there was a real opportunity to throw this pass. I also could understand if the design was, hey, really the main focus, maybe not the main focus, but part of the design is Marvin Jones Jr. underneath. Because with them dropping out, you're going to see they're only bringing 3 rushers on this play. So they have an extra underneath defender with the defensive tackle dropping out. Still, though, I would think then the best spot to go with this ball would be trying to hit this to Marvin. It's where the ball could have really went on this play. But you also do understand kind of the second part of this, where you run underneath kind of this little delayed route from right here, Marvin Jones Jr., then breaking back inside with their defensive tackle, who you don't necessarily would expect would drop out here, but with their defensive tackle dropping out, giving them an extra underneath defender, because usually you only have 2, right? Usually you only have 2 underneath defenders. So this pass going to Marvin Jones Jr., usually this guy's not here. You could really see an opportunity for a potential catch and run, because if you drop him out of the play, you delay this route, you can set it up where Marvin Jones Jr. could catch this for about 5 yards and then potentially just run this thing into the end zone. Like, you could see that opportunity set up there, but when they dropped the DT out, it kind of closed that off a little bit as well. And I think you can kind of see it through his eyes, starting right on the play, kind of taking that underneath zone defender out of it. Also, of course, the middle zone linebacker in this Tampa 2 look with St. Brown. And then coming back when he plants to the middle of the field to look to Josh Reynolds when he's kind of showing to sit down before he takes off back up field. But having that defensive tackle drops out, you see the depth that Quay Walker then has kind of working on the opposite hash. And I think that kind of pulled Goff away from trying to kind of fit that pass into that window, because he didn't necessarily have to get aggressive or dive down, because that's an open zone where then Goff has more real estate to go right over top. Instead, you have that defensive tackle that's giving him more cushion. So then Goff decides to come back underneath and try to hit Marvin Jones Jr. The pass ultimately falls incomplete here. He didn't really run through it like I kind of would have expected him to. He kind of just stopped on the route. It was a little bit off. But I think ultimately the missed opportunity could have been right here to kind of just let that thing go to Josh Reynolds, kind of a little touch pass. Clearly he felt some pressure in the pocket, but I don't know. Maybe could have just, I just feel like that was a real opportunity to potentially throw a little touch pass there. I'm not mad that we didn't. You want to get points on the board regardless. So I understand it's no reason to force something, but I think there was an opportunity there. Regardless, though, I think that the play design was pretty crafty. Of course, with the timing for Marvin Jones Jr. to kind of delay it, fake, and then go, get these guys to back up and potentially try to get a catch and run opportunity into the end zone. But they had an extra underneath defender, so that kind of makes it a little bit weird as well. Notice, though, when you see they're in a cover 3 defense here, is the depth of the safety. Very aggressive safety play. I think that was also something clearly that they came in with an idea of, like, we want to be aggressive with that middle field safety. We want to take away those in-breaking routes off these play, because they are a heavy play action team. We talked about that coming into the game. Heavy play action team. We want to take away those in-breaking routes right off that drop. And you can see Tracy Walker right here, who lays the big hit on Christian Watson. He was aggressively sitting in terms of his depth in these cover 3 looks. But then also, I didn't think the play fake was ideal here from from Jordan Love on this play. I think he had some really good play fakes in there. Didn't think maybe this was his best work. Alex Anzalone then is able to drop, open up, and then make a really good play on the football to tip that thing up. Tracy was in a spot to lay a big hit regardless there, so this was kind of a tight window, but really nice job by Duracell on that play, and then obviously Jerry Jacobs just sticking with it. What I wanted to point out about this play specifically was the receiver blocking. Okay, of course you have Brock Wright kind of on the backside here sealing this off. It's a little bit of a duo run on this play, but the focus to me here that I really want to point out, you got these double teams inside, is Josh Reynolds. Man, this makes you want to give him the football when he's blocking like this. I gotta believe, right? When he comes in flying in like this to pick up Nixon like that, you know, pushes him out of the play, opens up that run lane for David Montgomery. That's absolutely massive for him to step in and lay that kind of block. They're going to double team in the inside, so usually the second level is pretty clean, but it's the receiver that steps in there, takes the nickel out of the play, who would have had the clear shot at David Montgomery to step in and make that happen. That is an excellent play by Josh Reynolds. A little bit of a triple option look on this play. So the first option, of course, is A.J. Dillon, and then they're going to work it into just an option here with Jordan Love and Aaron Jones on this play. Now, notice the recognition. I think that's the first thing that really stands out to me here is how quickly the recognition is with Alex Anzalone. He's communicating with Brian Branch like, hey, get out there, get wide on this play, because he can see the running back going that direction, telling him to get out there. Then Brian Branch, to avoid this pin down block, is absolutely beautiful. I think we may have shown this in the takeaways video as well. He avoids the pin down block. Alex Anzalone is very fast to communicate this and recognize it. Look at his pursuit. I mean, from playing in really the A gap right over the center on this play, stacking over the center, to be able to get out there on this, like, he's flying to the football. That's excellent pursuit. But really the key, of course, was first off Brian Branch being able to avoid the pin down block from the receiver, and that ultimately takes away Jordan Love, forces the pitch. And then it was Cam Sutton, because what Cam Sutton did was he didn't dive inside. He stayed very disciplined. So this receiver is who Cam Sutton has on the play. Romeo Doubs, who's coming down to lay this pin down block. A lot of times cornerbacks will follow that, sit on top of it, and now you lose that edge contain. Cam Sutton, look where he's at. Extremely disciplined to stay outside of this and then make the play on the run. That was excellent awareness and recognition really from a lot of guys there. And this is a 3rd and 7. The Lions are going into a quarters look here defensively, but this is what you love about Brian Branch. We talk about the recognition, top of the route, staying in phase out of the route break. Watch it here against Christian Watson, and you can kind of see him cheating that direction. See the awareness there of when the top of the route is happening, when he's going to break down. He kind of slows into that route and then he kind of speeds up to break out of it. Look at the straight line. He flatlines that thing underneath the route to give himself an opportunity to break up this pass. Really almost had an opportunity for more there, but this is just beautiful. I mean, the pacing of this, you know, he's not taking false steps where there's a stumble out of it. He's just flowing that direction, reading on it. Recognition and awareness is there of where the sticks are, and he's undercutting this. Now, again, the timing, again, I thought they were hit and miss coming into the game with Love, but this is a great play by Brian Branch. So we had a lot of pass breakups. That thing was beautiful. And one guy that I thought just played really well in this game, and I think we all felt that way, was Jerry Jacobs. Of course, he had the 2 interceptions, but plays like this, right, to go again to your first read. What is the first read? A lot of times it was short side of the field. So here, once again, looking to that side of the field, you have your wide receiver on this play in a wide alignment, Romeo Doubs. Lions are going into another quarters look here defensively. Watch him match essentially step for step here with Romeo. Now, this is not the prettiest route by any means. All right, that thing is not the prettiest route, but because of that, Jerry Jacobs does his job from off coverage to really just match this thing step for step with the break, dive on it, pulls Jordan Love away from it. He doesn't like it, and he comes back to his second read, which again was the key. Like, we have to get him beyond his first and second. Obviously, that would be outstanding because then we can really get some sacks. And, of course, once you get him through 2, that's where you get sacks. Because, again, our pass rush lanes were really good. We were winning up front. Here, again, that TE stunt works right into that inside shoulder of the tackle, bounces off him, gets a sack of Lee McNeil. You love to see it. But also, on this play, Alex Anzalone, you have your 3 underneath defenders. You're going to see Jack Campbell drop out, so that's some of the versatility we talked about there. They're loading over to that strong side with their underneath defenders, which makes sense to take it all away, the running back, the tight end, and then also this inline tight end. But that's the big thing here with Alex Anzalone, I think, is that recognition to take that away as fast as he did. Sees the running back leak out, communicates that, and then he dives on this route. He doesn't just sit there and see it happening. He sees this curl route happening, and he drives on it and takes that route away entirely. Alex Anzalone, that is a beautiful play, man, to take away that second read. Even if Love is just simply trying to look left to try to move a guy like Alex so he could open up kind of the strong side of the formation with this little spot route from the tight end, it does speak to the awareness and the discipline of, like, like, okay, I'm not going to flow that way. I have these responsibilities underneath on this side of the field. Jerry Jacobs is one-on-one on the backside. He'll handle that. I have to aggressively stick with this route, and I can't be opened up just because he looks the opposite direction. You're going to get a zone counter look from the Lions. And one thing that I really liked, and you're going to see they're going to kind of balance it out here in terms of tight ends by bringing Sam Laporta over. One thing that I really liked, and it was the Lions, was their ability to shift the strength of the football in terms of when they were running the football, and they were able to do that with motion like this, but also a lot of fast motion, utilizing that fast motion, the jet motion with tight ends to lead block on the play. It's something that I thought Seattle was doing kind of coming into that game, and the Lions seemingly almost have like picked up from some of that and like, hey, let's do that too in our offense. Let's add that little wrinkle to our offense. And I think in this game, they were able to shift the strength of the field and where they were running to by a lot of that motion pre-snap, but also a lot of that fast motion because they were able to get extra bodies to block and really get up to the second level. And I thought this was a cool example. So again, this is another 3rd and 1 situation, so another short yard situations. Again, they're doing the same look as a front, but the big thing here is this. So they're going into a zone counter look. Again, you're going to see, notice how they use Brock Wright. So Sam Laporta kind of balances it out. Now it's like, okay, we have a balanced front. Not so fast. Now we're going to use a jet motion like that with Brock Wright. Now we're almost essentially shifting the strength of the field. So while, yeah, we're running kind of to the strong side, but now the weak side, but actually we're going to counter out of that. So we're shifting the strength of the field, but we're actually going to run towards the strong side, even though it's a zone, yet it's a counter play. So this is a counter zone that they're shifting the strength of the side with 2 motions, specifically this jet motion. And what that does is watch Sam get up to the second level, and then Brock Wright's actually going to come around and pick up the edge rusher. This is just beautiful, the little craftiness here. Now, on this play, a big focus is Devontae Wyatt. He is then forced to get outside and play through the C gap here on Taylor Decker. And he kind of does it pretty well early. You're going to see Jonah Jackson crash down the inside with this zone run, and he's going to try to jump outside, get control of this block, as he does early on this play, and get into that C gap. That way he can open up Quay Walker to fill into this B gap right here. So he wins it early, but again, Sam Laporta kind of slices his way through. Then Wyatt sticks his face inside, and that's when David Montgomery sets it all up kind of by himself here by attacking that A gap. But then also, I think a lot of this was designed to bounce because you utilize him to just follow that jet motion. Yet he peeks back inside. Even though Walker's there to fill it, he peeks inside. It's when David Montgomery's able to bounce this and pick up a first down. And what you love about Montgomery is the pacing. You see him how he works square into the line of scrimmage, and then he kind of just explodes himself as he jump cuts outside instead of just rolling into kind of that open lane or following that jet motion block. Instead, he's going to press through that inside gap where you can see Devontae Wyatt's going to peek inside, and then when he decides to get up there, jump cut, squared shoulders, he can explode through that gap, and you're going to see there from Devontae Wyatt, he's going to peek inside. A lot of these runs get set up by David Montgomery selling it. He's really good with the pacing and the tempo of these run plays. This isn't really an in-breaking route, but it is kind of a similar example in terms of, I think this is where Jared Goff he's really at his best, right? I don't think he doesn't have the biggest arm. We understand that. He may not be the most athletic quarterback, but where his superpower can kind of come into play is when you allow him to utilize his eyes and play through his eye usage. The pass protection is there. Now here, Rashawn Gary gets some pressure, ends up getting a quarterback hit. This was a drop on this play, but I think you could just show so many of these examples where they run kind of this curl route here with Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's able to watch that and then come back over the middle of the field because, again, they're going to blitz, so they're losing a normal underneath defender on this play. Just like this, you get another counter run. They're going to pull the offensive line, but they're also going to bring Sam Laporta. You're going to see St. Brown kind of fake inside, almost like it's kind of forcing Preston Smith to kind of crash down on this play and play right through Jonah Jackson, the lead blocker. So he does take him out of the play, but he also takes himself out of the play. And then once again, they get it isolated essentially with Quay Walker here. And he's kind of filling down through this C gap, trying to go right through Jonah Jackson, but for Quay Walker, now he's thinking, okay, do I get towards the outside or do I sit in the inside? And when he sits in the inside, that's where Sam Laporta is to block him, right? And that's kind of the issue on this play because St. Brown, you're going to see him here. Look at St. Brown blocking and kind of sealing off the edge here. So if this thing does bounce, you're going to expect that he's going to have a lane to do that if he steps inside. But, of course, he's kind of playing the in-between on this one, and Quay Walker ultimately then is going to get picked up by Sam Laporta right there. Boom. And just a enough, and now he has a huge run lane. Even something as basic as this is basically a disguise for the Lions defensively, because they're able to pre-snap, show a too high look, and then the cornerbacks are going to change alignments at the snaps. You're going to see they're going to kind of show like they're going to press up here pre-snap, and then they're both going to drop out. Safety's going to roll down. He's going to buzz down on this play, take away the seam. One thing I liked about Tracy was the depth that he was getting from the safety position. Really, the angles there, he is very opportunistic, but the depth that he was able to get like this on the seam, a lot of times that's a place that you can attack, but you're going to see he's going to continue to get depth here and kind of, again, force him away from that first read. Now, you tie that with the fact that you're able to get pressure from John Kaminsky, who's driving back the right guard on this play. That helps a ton too, because now he's flushed out of the pocket. And again, I look at situational awareness here. So again, to the short side of the field, that seam they're attacking, Tracy Walker, is getting really good depth. Understanding that that's a hole in cover 3 is attacking the seam. So he keeps depth to take that route away. He's trying to look off the middle field safety, come back to that. Meanwhile, you're also going to see Jack Campbell. He's dropping out to that opposite hash for that hook curl zone. Again, really good depth for him as well, covering up the seam. But as Love decides it's not there, feels the pressure and decides to take off, Jack Campbell sprints down to take away the running back. And notice Aiden Hutchinson, how he drops out and then he becomes kind of the contained player. This is really good pass rush lanes. Once again here, the pocket collapses. He doesn't rush through and give him a lane to take off. Instead, he drops out as well and takes away any scrambling opportunity. I also love is Brian Branchman. The angles that he takes, I absolutely love the angles that he takes like this. Kind of just flatlines that thing, closes a lot of ground really fast, and then once again, they're able to get a stop here. Now, before half, this was a pretty crafty play call, and I think it cut off a little bit here, but it was a pretty crafty play call, and I almost feel like they should have went at it a little bit more here. When our linebackers are passing to our safeties, one thing that our slot corners would do is they would try to kind of sit outside and keep depth on that, but here for them to kind of push outside and then back inside here with Brian Branch, pull him out of the play. The linebacker is then passing it off to a safety, but the safety has to work through that traffic. It was a crafty little play design that they had before half. Some of the adjustments that I thought Green Bay came out with in the second half, knowing what we were going to do defensively based on kind of the personnel packages that they would seemingly put out there, I think they had a pretty good plan coming out in the second half and just trying to find some beaters for what we were doing defensively. Like for this, for example, the cover 3 look. So again, they stack it up, which forces Jerry Jacobs to drop out and get some depth on this play. Now, one thing we did see is the Lions get a little bit more aggressive in the second half. Now, this wasn't even a blitz necessarily, but you're going to see on this play, what they're going to do is they're going to cross the face of the center with Benito Jones. So he's going to go from the opposite A-gap into the other A-gap, and they're going to create a 3-on-3 on the short side of the field. Now, the ball's going to go there. They had that nice little setup with the inside release, a little two-man route there to set up a quick curl route to get this ball out. But the reason Alex is also not in kind of that zone area where a lot of times he kind of would be sitting is because they decided to kind of spill their line over to the right side, which meant that Alex had to fill in the inside either for a run, but specifically that pass rush lane that Jordan Love could take off in. And at the same time, when the running back steps down almost to show pass protection, Alex drops out, seeing that the quick pass is taking place and that it's not free rush to the quarterback. With them stacking up on this play, it's going to open up this curl route for that inside release to just go sit down, because now Jerry Jacobs is dropping out to give Brian Branch that room to go take away the flat. So it's kind of an easy completion. We talked about in the first half when they would again go to these two tight end looks. So here it's a different lineup, right? They're going to a single back look, but it's still two tight ends at 12 personnel. And the Lions, again, they're going to show their safety pre-snap, then drop out Tracy Walker. So they're going to get that Tampa 2 look that we saw in the first half here with Brian Branch as that safety. And then again, they just come with a Tampa 2 beater. You're going to notice Cam Sutton here on the cornerback position. His first step is going to be down to play potentially that run lane if that's like an outside zone. So he steps down. But really here it's just a beater on this play. Derek Barnes is going to be pulled vertically, and then you're going to run this dig route right underneath it. And there's no one there. That's usually the beater for a Tampa 2 look defensively, and this was just kind of the plan that they seemingly came out with, is that they kind of knew maybe what coverage we were going to go into based on the personnel that they could throw at us, and this was an example of them just having a beater on the play for what we were in coverage-wise. So had some really tough penalties as well, and I think there was actually one on this play, so this play didn't really stand, because I didn't even see this play actually happen until I went back and rewatched it, but this was a pretty awesome play. So the Lions are going into that cover 3 look. You can see they're stacked up. Jerry's dropped out on this play, that cover 3. So again, they potentially could have tried to attack it again, but Derek Barnes usually is going to have some depth there. That's usually the case. Going to this cover 3 with Iffy, he's going to roll into the flat. So again, you kind of get that short motion. He aggressively is going to take that away. But I love this from Cam Sutton and Iffy on this play. So he aggressively takes away the flat. Notice how Cam Sutton kind of sits in the slot there, potentially protecting against a seam, which can be kind of the weak part of the zone. But then also understanding where his receiver is behind him, kind of in that blind spot, and flipping around to take that away. It kind of frees up Iffy on this play to aggressively get out there there into the flat, pass it off to Cam Sutton, and then drive underneath on this play. This was a really nice cover 3 look here from the Lions defensively. Again, they could have tried to attack this stack a little bit more, I think. Now, Alex Anzalone stepped down to almost like blitz on the last look. It looked like usually you're going to have that underneath zone linebacker, but especially even like this when you're going towards the wrong side of the formation with 3 receivers on one side, it felt like maybe they could have tried to go at that a little bit, but this was a really nice play from Iffy. They called a flag there, but overall I thought that was just a clean, really clean coverage look from the Lions defensively. 4th and 9 is a chance to get off the field. They threw a little screen, picked up like 6 yards. This is a 4th and 9. The one tweak here is that Aaron Glenn decided to bring the blitz. Now, he brought 5, and they ended up getting a free rusher, so it worked about as well as it could by bringing Alex Anzalone here off the edge and then bringing Derek Barnes through with Aiden Hutchinson. They were able to get Aiden Hutchinson free on this play because he had to let go of Hutchinson to pick up Derek Barnes. They were able to get that free rush. Credit to Jordan Love for standing in there and delivering that pass. He got the free rush that he wanted, but it just didn't get there in time. And you could understand, like, if you feel like we can get relatively clean on the rush, it wasn't a free rush, he did get blocked a little bit, but if we can get relatively clean there and get through, they need 9 yards. So it's going to be difficult for them to get the ball that far downfield. But again, having kind of a look for what we were doing defensively, going to that cover 3 look, sitting down with this underneath little curl route. Now, the biggest thing that you could probably point to here is understanding the depth that they need to get. For Iffy, yes, he's driving on this as that underneath zone defender. Again, you blitzed your other one, so he is the only underneath zone defender. So again, kind of like they did to us, you have 2 receivers on one side, so you're kind of just matching that. You could say, hey, give a little bit more depth because this is where the first down marker is, but he does push it, I would say, close enough, but then he just gets it off. He just gets it off, again, attacking that short side of the field and kind of that dig in breaking route right there. Receiver does a nice job here, I think, selling it for Cam Sutton because Cam Sutton is the outside third, but he could have stayed in phase much more, but you're going to see with his route, he kind of jerks that thing back towards the inside, and they kind of stack up on top of each other like that. Romeo's going to kind of stack up on top of the other receiver right there as he releases kind of inside, kind of slow plays his route a little bit for Iffy as he kind of sits down. So he's able to go right behind Iffy on the play, and Cam Sutton now is really not in a really good spot to help anything out there. So it was also some really good route detail, I think, with this kind of 2-man concept, and they just got it off on the play. We got the rush that we wanted, but also on top of that, you have Tracy Walker because you're playing a too high look pre-snap to kind of disguise out of it. He now has to roll back to the middle field. Plus, he has this seam that he kind of needs to worry about until it breaks towards the corner route. But again, it's really just the timing all kind of synced up there, and that's a really good play for them offensively. This was a little disguise from the Packers defensively. So we talk about disguise. I think this one was kind of slick because it threw me off for a while. They show kind of a cover 1 look on this play, and then late the safety's going to roll down. He's actually going to end up blitzing here. So they're showing cover 1. They're showing man across the board. Then you're going to see they're going to start to kind of drop out. Safety rolls down. Notice the cornerback open up. Actually going into a cover 3 look here defensively with a safety blitz. So he actually gets unblitzed on the play, and then Goff immediately is going to go throw this swing route. Now, why this was the key is because we actually lost yards on this play. You can understand the decision making here, but it set us up for 3rd and long, and that was the issue. I think it set us up in a 3rd and 12, is that we lost yards on this play with this safety blitz. You can see for Goff, he sees the safety come off the edge, and he's going to give this little sidearm pass out to the back on this play, and essentially you have him one-on-one with Quay Walker. Now, he didn't seem to catch it perfectly on this play, and you can see he's kind of just got stuck right there in the grass. Didn't seem to have great traction there for whatever reason, make really much of a move on this play. I don't think he had a great opportunity either on this one. If anything, I don't know, maybe you get it out just a little bit quicker. I'm not sure. Really, what would have been open, though, is Sam Laporta sitting down, and that's because, again, they kind of disguised it. It wasn't truly man coverage on the running back. Instead, it was more of a zone coverage. And I give Green Bay credit because they actually rolled their coverage really late on this play to bring the safety down and then shift Quay Walker out into the flat. And what that did is it actually made it even more open to hit Sam Laporta on this route. It also kind of made it look like man coverage, but it made it more open for Laporta because if he was sitting in his hook zone and they bring the safety off the edge, now he has to decide, do I sit back and cover up that little spot route there from Sam Laporta, or do I rush into the flat? Someone's going to be open. But when you bring it late, as Goff is taking the snap and he's not looking up, he's now taking the snap, and then he's got to read it, and he sees a free rusher. Now he's immediately thinking, get the ball to the flat. Quay Walker sitting out there, let him try to win one-on-one. And they create a negative by a late movement. And also, it does look like Sam Laporta had some recognition here that it was zone, so he sat down his route instead of rolling through into that other off-coverage zone linebacker. What they also were creating on his backside was kind of that dig route in front of the safety, but with the pressure, of course, we weren't going to look over there with a free rusher. But I do give credit to Laporta. He seemed to recognize the coverage that they were sitting in and kind of sat down his route in his own hole. goal. Basically, this is one of the adjustments that we ended up making in the second half. We talked about this in the takeaways video, but bringing that safety blitz. So again, now we're showing the safety in the box as we've seen them show too high. Here they're putting the safety in the box, but they're going to blitz Tracy Walker this time. So we didn't see a ton of blitzing in the first half. We started to see a little bit in the second half. This was an example, and this was a key play because again, it made them lose 11 yards. It was essentially like a sack, and it stalled out this drive. This was a massive 3-and-out for the Lions defense, and it started all with this safety blitz. Now, they're going to give kind of the play fake. Tight end's going to crash down. They're going to kick out their guard, and he's not really in a position to make a play on Tracy, so that's why this whole thing gets thrown off. But you're going to see what you also have to like is the communication was very smooth across the board here when the motion came across. Now, there's only one receiver on this side of the field, so everybody communicates well. Will stays here to take away that flat zone. Alex Anzalone then gets out wide, takes away Romeo Doubs, which is where the pass is going to go on this play, and then bringing Tracy Walker off the edge late here, kind of walking him up and then rushing him off the edge. Now you slant everyone else inside, and then you have an opportunity again to get that free rusher. He's unable to pick him up, the guard is, and you kind of take away that play fake, loss of 11. And we saw in the beginning of the game for them, it was man coverage defensively. It was taking away the first progression. Here in the second half, a little bit more aggressive stylistically, like bringing Tracy Walker like this off the edge. And you're going to see the offense, they're going to pull the guard, so they're kind of slanting down their offensive line and kicking out that right guard. But what the Lions are doing, another 11 personnel look, but instead of putting a 5-man front, they get the extra defensive back on the field this time with Will Harris, but they're just going to bring Tracy Walker off the edge here, and essentially Aiden Hutchinson on the backside one-on-one to just play his rush lane. But they get the free rusher off the edge, bringing that extra rusher, really seemingly just trying to get them behind the chains on first down, understanding what the score was in the game. And this kind of speaks to, I think, the tendency coming into the game of what the Lions want to do. They go to a 2-by-2 look here with the running back in the backfield. So Lions are actually going to go to a cover 6 look here to this 2 receiver side on the field side. And then on the boundary side, again, notice what this allows Jerry Jacobs to do. It allows him to get up and really contest this route, contest the release, and again, press on this short side of the field. Also, again, they're going to have this deep safety over top, so they're going to kind of bracket it in here. But Jerry Jacobs is matched up with this tight end, and he essentially just sticks one-on-one, and then it's the deep safety over top Iffy, who's going to take away that slot running the corner route. Now, this actually, I don't think was a bad read from Jordan Love on this play, seeing Iffy go out wide and then deciding to come back to the middle. But Tracy Walker, this was maybe his best. I mean, this was really clean from Tracy Walker to be on this quarter side against a slot like Reed, who can really run, and to step in front of this like he did. That good anticipation right there. Boom, get a good step on this, get in front of the route, and then of course it was incomplete mainly because of the pressure that was had here from the Lions. But and again, John Kaminsky working again and then the inside. But Tracy Walker, this was a pretty nice step right there. Boom, to get on top of this route and position himself really well. This was a play that we showed in our takeaways video. They're going into a cover 3 look here. They're going to roll this safety down, and they use that short in motion to get this matchup here with Quay Walker. So you're going to see it. First off, he's lined out wide. You have Rasul Douglas out there. Then they're going to bring this short in motion and break him right back outside. But what this does is for the tight end, he can just release vertical on this play like he does Brock Wright. Sits down this little curl route. But once he releases vertical, now Douglas is going to drop out and take that as the outside third. And then, of course, your underneath defender on that side of the field, just based on how they're lined up, is Quay Walker, right? Because, again, they're rolling down towards the strength of it where you have 3 receivers bunched up on one side, 2 on the other. So because of how they're lined up, you know that outside zone defender, unless Rashawn Gary drops, is going to be Quay Walker. So you put him in the mix, make him chase a guy that's pretty darn fast, and makes an excellent catch and picks up a massive 3rd and 2. Me, again, I thought this was just a really good design from the Packers offense. The big thing that I really focus on here, though, when I'm watching it back, is they're giving you that empty look. They go into the draw, they score the touchdown, and you can see, watch, both their slots are going to run these out routes, right? They're all going to run these out routes to pull the defenders out of the play so that they can open up this run lane where the right guard can lead the way and they can go score a touchdown. So that's really the key here, is that I believe this was a design with their routes that they were running to pull their players. But if you noticed, again, we talked about attacking the short side. They have Romeo Doubs in the slot here. Attacking that short side, Aiden Hutchinson, he was doing a lot of that walking around. Which guard am I going to rush? I'm walking around pre-snap. He was kind of walking around, but then he dropped out and he kind of tipped his hand a little bit that he was going to drop on this play. But he's sitting inside leverage, and it's understandable because if he's going to do what we've seen a lot of, which is go to that short side of the field, immediately try to hit that, you want to take away the inside because he's matched up one-on-one with a linebacker with the safety over top. They wanted to drop out Hutch to take that away. On the backside, it was kind of your normal look, right? You have, your linebacker in the inside slot with the safety over top. You have Brian Branch in the slot. Like, this is kind of normal, but they're dropping out Aiden Hutchinson to, again, take away that first progression. That was their goal, was to seemingly take that first progression away here. But good job by the offense for recognizing that, seeing that Hutch was going to drop out, looking left. just taking all the out routes, taking everybody essentially out of the play, and then Aiden Hutchinson is kind of left on an island, but he's not in a position to get back into that. So I thought that was just a really good design. But this was the key play. This was the option stop. And first off, the communication is there with Derek Barnes pre-snap with every linebacker. You're going to see they're going to run the short motion out is key on this play because Cam Sutton's one-on-one. And there was that threat where he could have potentially threw it. I don't think he was going to throw this ball. I think it was all the way an option play. But there was a one-on-one with Sutton. So he had to be the guy to essentially contain and force this thing back inside. It's also John Kaminsky, who's lined up with the tackle, but steps in on the guard on this play. So watch. So he's going to step in right here, almost to that B gap, meaning Jack Campbell then has the C gap. But Jack Campbell does a really good job noticing the running backs leaking out wide, getting out there. Doesn't really take any false steps, gets out wide, takes it away. Then it's John Kaminsky. Because they're slanting now inside because it's a short yardage situation, John Kaminsky makes a key play, gets into the B gap, but works through the block to make the stop on Jordan Love. That is a massive play because you're looking at this, he really should not have been able to do this. Tom pushes him inside, keeps him inside, then he works up to seal off Derek Barnes. John Kaminsky had to work from stepping into the B gap, getting pushed by Tom onto the guard, work through John Runyon, and make the stop, and Jack Campbell took away the running back. He also did like a little hesitation in there like this, like, ooh, I'm going to stop, now I'm going to go, driving on the running back, and then he kind of stops to play the quarterback, and may have slowed him down just a tad, but John Kaminsky made an excellent play, and that was really the key stop the Lions had. Some of these are just straight up outside zone runs like this time towards the strong side with the tight end. They're going to go right at that 3 technique. You're going to see with Frank Ragnow does a nice job, gets to block. Now, personnel-wise, they're playing in a 2-4-5, so they only have really 6, you can say, big bodies on the field, right? They're asking that slot or Nixon on this play to go in and tackle, but we're also asking our receivers to block. So, I mean, that's kind of the trade-off there. But on this play, I focus on Graham Glasgow to set in front and seal off Kenny Clark on this play in a 2-eye technique. So he already has that inside shade, and they aggressive. They want to get upfield, so they play with these shades. That way they can aggressively shoot into the chest of these offensive linemen and aggressively shoot into their gaps. So like this, shooting right into the block, but for Graham Glasgow to get in front and seal that thing off just enough, allowing Dave Montgomery to kick up to the second level here with Frank Ragnow. Boom. Jonah Jackson staying connected with that on Slayton, and then just shooting it up to the second level. That was a really nice job, I think, across the board here. Taylor Decker's doing his thing. See that the defensive tackle, now he's going to essentially force 45, their linebacker, to scrape all the way across the formation on this play because he's going to jump into this backside A gap you're going to see right here. So because of that, you don't really have enough gaps to fill. Now it is kind of a blown block here from Frank Ragnow. He does go down on this play, and he does get into the backfield. He kind of jumps there with Jared Goff, but I don't think he was really in a position to make a play on the back. So it's going to force this backside linebacker to get all the way across the formation with him jumping into that A gap. So they slant, and it can be very helpful, especially from the edge position, but it can also lead to some like, oh, that's not so great because he's got a long way to travel, especially if he's not making the play in the backfield. Because now Jonah has a one-on-one block with Quay Walker, and obviously he's going to take that all day. And for the Lions in this situation, this was a 3rd and 2. They only need 2 yards here. So again, short yardage, you get it. They're trying to kind of slant. Let's get penetration, get pushed into the backfield, so you understand it, but it's a long way for this linebacker to go. So even with the missed block here, and I really like the run from Gibbs, I really do. Goes outside, sits back inside, here's that scraping linebacker, bounces off that tackle, stays on his feet, fights forward, picks up the first down. That's a really nice run from Jahmyr Gibbs. And the early things to love about Jahmyr Gibbs just as a rusher is the contact balance, is the toughness, it's the ease at which he can move. But I do think that there's a little bit, you'll see better tempo in terms of the way that David Montgomery will run. Here, like on an inside zone play, you're going to see he doesn't really square up. He kind of just rolls through. He understands and he feels that defensive player with the blown block in the interior. So I like this run. There's a lot of things that I do like about this run. I like how he gets and essentially takes on half the man of that scraping linebacker off this backside here. You're going to see him kind of cut through that, take on half the man, not necessarily take him head on. But again, with some of the setup and some of the tempo there, I think he could help himself a little bit out in terms of, I just think he has room to grow as just a pure rusher. And that's fine. He's young. I think he'll grow into that. You can see the athleticism. And then the utilization of the fullback was a big part in this game. Maybe not necessarily this play. You can see he tried to get out there, didn't get a great block here. But they were able to utilize him on split zone looks, things like that. So Lions were able to continue to keep one flow going one way. So they had some flexibility by having Daryl Daniels in there for this game plan. But really what stands out to me on kind of this lead run is Frank Ragnow. Frank Ragnow, he had a low snap in this game, but again, these defensive tackles are aggressive. So watch him here in this one technique, shoot off the line. He's just getting that snap off and he's getting punched in the chest. But this is why you pay Frank the big bucks, to reset his hands, to get himself back in position to seal this block. So he's jolted off the line, but look at him. Anchor down, get his hands inside, And look at that. Look at where he's repositioning. He's controlling that block now. That is why you paid the dude the big bucks, because he's blown off the ball. And then he resets himself, stays in the play, and he's able to handle that block enough, along with everybody else, for David Montgomery to find the hole. So that's big time. That's big time from Frank. And obviously they were getting on him quick, but that was a really nice adjustment. And also Penei Sewell is going to get paid the big bucks because he does things like this. You can see to number 96 on this play. Yeah, this is that's a pretty dominant block there. I know we've already showed that one. It's a pretty dominant block. I really wanted to showcase Frank there on that play. Graham gets up there and seals, but you know, kind of like your 5 technique on that play where they're going to slant outside. He slants outside of his gap. Now all of a sudden the tight end, who maybe wasn't expecting this, the tight end has to deal with it. James Mitchell's getting punched in the chest by a big defensive end on the play. And that's where you can get tackles for loss because it kind of throws off everything, right? For Taylor Decker, he doesn't really know who to block now on the play. He's like completely undecided because he was thinking, okay, I'm going to probably chip 96, get up to the second level. Well, 96 slants outside. So now he's like, okay, I guess I'm going up to the second level. But then he sees Rashawn Gary jump inside the gap that he just left. So now he's like, okay, well, hold up. Should I help on Rashawn Gary here? And that's where everything gets thrown off because now he's trying to block 2 guys. Brock Wright isn't really blocking anybody on the play. You can see right there because he's just on the ground immediately. He was just not prepared for that. So that's where they can get you. So it's like, yeah, they would have good examples in here. And you're going to see they try to kind of double team, get some contact here on Kenny Clark. He holds his ground pretty well right there, sheds off it. But then on this side, just a lot of confusion caused by kind of the slant that they do up front. Of course, you have your touchdown run. You have a very similar front type of look on the play. Again, they're kind of one gapping here to where the run is going on this play. As we saw, the defensive end's going to jump outside of Penei Sewell, and it kind of throws him off this time. You're going to see he's going to sit this inside 4-eye, and then he's going to jump outside. Instead of going into the B gap, he's actually going to jump into the C gap, and that can throw off the tackle because then Quay Walker then is going to be asked to fill inside. My confusion with this one is that with him jumping towards the outside, Quay Walker not immediately filling towards this inside gap was the key issue to me. Penei Sewell did just enough. He kind of like just grabbed his leg on the way by just to kind of get some sort of contact here to try to push it into the end zone. But the fact that he didn't immediately fill inside, I think was the key issue on this play because again, every other gap is kind of filled here that they would need filled. So he needed to fill inside of where number 96 left, but he didn't immediately on this play. He kind of filled right behind him. So I think that's where you get some of the downside and it's able to get enough push. So we're able to punch it into the end zone. And it's the little things I like about Branch. It's understanding game situation, the timing, and maybe what you've even seen before. It's a play like this, right? You get a cover 1 defensively here. You're going to see it from the Lions, linebacker to safety. We've seen that switch. But here in the slot, watch Brian Branch on this play. Look at the depth that he gets, okay? Understanding we're up of 3 scores at this point in time. But look at the depth that he has. So they run this curl route underneath, but we've seen them break outside. They've had these outside breaking routes. He continues to maintain depth on this play. He actually drops back a little bit further. He maintains depth on this play without just diving down and taking himself out of it and allowing them to maybe come right behind it. He continues to get depth on this. Play through the eyes of love and get depth on this play. That's like the little things, man, that I just love about Brian Branch. He does like the little things, like avoiding pick plays, getting a little bit of extra depth, undercutting a route, man. He's just so smooth and so fluid in doing those looks defensively. And then, of course, you get pressure once again here, this time from a Lee McNeil. Lee McNeil had a really good game once again, and you force him out of the pocket. But again, look at the rush lanes. We're going to show that. I think the next play is another good example, but the rush lanes are there. That's that TE stunt once again. Hutchinson, you see him drop out, right? Once he's over top, he's not getting that push, drop out to contain, and that was a key. That was a massive key. And then Brian Branch, of course, still knows where his man is. He's not just dropping anywhere. He still knows where his guy is, but just getting that extra depth. And here was the interception from Jerry Jacobs. Will Harris is now back in the game. I thought he played this pretty well here. We go into this quarters look. So you're going to see he's going to have that inside help. Now, this may not have been the best at the top of the route here from Jerry, but he has the inside help with Iffy. Iffy's going to kind of open that way to the strong side where Jordan Love is looking on this play. I really liked how he played it to the strong side of the formation here on this 3-receiver set because, again, Jack Campbell's going to slide underneath to take away that curl route as he's an underneath defender in a cover 4 look defensively. And also, so is Will Harris. But Will Harris, again, sees him do that. And then as soon as this route breaks to a corner route, he drops out and takes that leverage because if Will Harris sits down on this, now this corner route could have a real opportunity potentially. It would have been tough, but it could have because Cam Sutton's sitting back here and he's getting really good depth too. So they're really all playing at really good zone depth on this play. But then here, on this backside, one-on-one with Dubs, you're going to see, again, just force him to go away from the first progression. It was a key in this game, was force him to get to number 2. Jack Campbell, take away number 1. We'll take away number 2 here on the corner route. Now you got to come back to number 3. And then, of course, once you do that, that's where things like that happen. That's where the interceptions take place. That's where confusion happens. That's where their hope is we're going to get pressure, and that's where Jerry Jacobs gets his second interception. Again, utilizing that jet motion, as I talked about, to a strong side of a play to shift it, and then all of a sudden use him as an extra blocker. It allows Sam Laporta to get out there and block. Brock Wright gets out there and blocks, and that's just one little tweak I think we started to see is them utilize kind of that motion to be a lead blocker on the play for them. You can see this is blocked up really well across the board here from the Lions, kind of this outside zone look. It's blocked up really well, but you're utilizing those tight ends to springboard to second level. You end up picking up 10 yards, bouncing this thing to the outside, and you're going to see it. McDuffie's going to get blocked up by a tight end on this play. See, St. Brown's going to come down and pin down Ford, the safety on this play, and then Sam Laporta ends up out here sealing as well. So just really good job sealing on the outside to allow some of those runs to break towards the outside. Just a little bit of the tweak there that we've seen from this Lions offense and using some of that motion to run block. Another really good defensive game. I think they have another opportunity this weekend to be really strong defensively with just who their opponent is this week. It's not going to be easy necessarily, but this is another opportunity to continue building on what you've done so far. And I think a lot of the good that we saw from last year has carried over early this year. And then on top of that, you're just seeing some of these new additions, the depth in zone coverage, the communication. You're seeing the secondary, man. It just looks really smooth right now, and I think that's only going to get better. Obviously, they want to get Mosley into the mix. I thought it was really good for Jerry Jacobs to get some press assignments. I think it's really good to have a player that's comfortable in that because it allows you to play some of those different looks. Cam Sutton likes to play half turn, even in man coverage. Jerry Jacobs just looks more natural and press to me. I think it was a really good balance in this game, and hopefully it balances itself out, especially going forward, especially with Mosley back, because Mosley I think is more of a off coverage type player, though he can press. He can do a little bit of both. It's one of the reasons that I like Mosley a lot, but he can do a little bit of both, but that balance I think was helpful in this game, so I would keep an eye on that. With that being said, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching.